Hi there, it's Mark, and today in Lightroom and Photoshop and with some dodgy footage from my phone, I'm going to take you behind the scenes at one of my workshops and how I set up the particular pictures and, more importantly, how I edit them. This video serves for two purposes. One, it's a tutorial for those who come on my workshop to remind them how to go through the editing process to get a pristine picture at the end, because the actual splashes we're going to be looking at are kind of random violence. And the other one is just an insight to the other half of my world, where I host workshops and we soak things and we set things on fire and we blow things up and we generally make carnage and learn how to photograph it all at the same time. All details of my events and photo shoots and things are on my website, links down below. But for now, let's get cracking. The 4 shots in question on our latest workshop are this one, a crystal ball splash, this one, a pouring pot of tea, a strawberry splash, and a strawberry splash again in a fish tank. Now, I've got some dodgy videos, as I said, to show you, which I will in a second. But here's an idea of some of the behind the scenes. I drilled a crystal ball and epoxy resined a little hook into it and hung it from the ceiling. Lower backdrop. There it is in camera. That's the picture from the camera. There it is now with some plastic tubs to catch the splashes and stop the rest of the carnage in my garage studio. There's a picture about to throw the water, coloured water. Oh, another one. There's the water coming out and there's the water hitting, and that's where the random violence ensues, and the editing is how to tidy that up. So that's what we're going to look at. I'm going to top up my coffee, because I always do. I'm going to play the titles. You may or may not see me on screen. Oh, you will actually, yes, sorry about that. You will see me while we go through the 4 videos. Brace yourself. See you shortly. Are you ready for these videos? Okay, so the first one just shows the layout for the crystal ball splash. My camera settings were 1/200th of a second, which was my sync speed, f7.1, which was enough to get rid of all the ambient light in the room, which means if I took a picture without flash, the picture was completely black. So all illumination, and the only illumination you see, is from the flash. ISO 320, there's a particular special reason for that. I didn't notice and I left it there from a previous shoot. Did it make a difference? No. Not in the slightest. I may well have been at a lower aperture to get my black frame, but because the ISO was up, I was at a slightly higher f-stop to get a black frame. But I got a black frame, i.e. no flash. There was no picture to be seen. Let's play on. So there is the camera. There's my flash at 132 power. There's the ball hanging, and behind the ball we have a Godox V100 Pro at the same power as you'd expect, in a small reflector pointing back at the camera. The next setup, what just happened? Let's get my second picture back. This next setup is the teapot. Very slick, this, isn't it? Let's play this. Oh, a bit more arty here. Wriggled it in front of your eyes. So it's just on fishing wire. I'll pause it just for a moment. The fishing wire comes down and is wrapped around the handle. The other piece of fishing wire comes down and goes into the spout, out through the hole in the lid and around the lid and back, so there's nothing taped in place, and the weight actually keeps the lid on, and then it's just on a bit of plastic. The pegs were just to hold the end of the fishing wire so I could always find them, and you just a tilting motion to pour. Okay, so that explains that setup. I have put a diffusion sheet down there. That could be a sheet or you could have a softbox closer to, as long as it was bigger than the frame you were photographing. But I prefer to put just a normal type flash, or in this case a speedlight, behind a sheet of diffusion paper. Third setup, this is the milk splash. Now in this one I took down the diffusion sheet and I put up just a black sheet in its place. Again, we're exactly the same settings, and it looks like I need to charge the battery in my camera. So here we are, same sort of view. Now this time I needed a softbox because I needed the light down, illuminating it and not spreading out too far. So there's a grid in the softbox, and there is the strawberry and milk setup. Finally, we have the fish tank. Now there's a few things you need to note about photographing in a fish tank. Firstly, for this image, I want the strawberry to be dropped in to be seen above and below the water. I want it mid splash. So my tripod is such that the camera is at the same height as the level of the water, and that level of the water is more or less central. I think it's a little bit taller, but it's more or less central in the frame. As we go around, you'll notice there's a ruler sticking in it. I'll point out some other bits and pieces. So there's the camera with the same setup, exactly the same setup. The power will probably change while I'm taking it. There's the ruler. It passes through the very center of the tank. Softbox to one side so that the light is just coming in 1 inch. On the back we've got some black card, and on the side we've got some white card. Now the card on the back, let us finish. Yeah, the card on the back is to stop the light coming in from the side hitting the rear glass and reflecting forward into your camera. If I had the card on the back actually behind the glass, i.e. this side, you would still get that reflection of the glass. But I've got the card, which is a bit of foam core, on the inside of the tank, so that you do not get any reflection at all from that back glass. The end card, however, doesn't matter whether it's inside or outside, so why wet and waste a bit of card? I've got this on the outside, so the flash over here comes through the tank and the glass and the card reflect it back in. That's how I'm illuminating from both sides, and that is the setup. The ruler, I'll show you the ruler. One of my first pictures I took for that particular shot was where's it gone? There it is. The ruler was there to get my focus. So I'm focused on the ruler. The ruler's in the dead center of the tank. I then put my lens into manual focus so that the camera did not have to worry about trying to find focus in the moment of a drop. If you use back button focus, that's not a problem for you. You just don't press the back button again once you've actually got it. But for those of us who weren't shooting in back button focus, just pop your lens into manual after having achieved that focus. So they are the setups, and it leaves us with these to edit. So I'm going to remove myself from the screen so you don't have to put up with me, and we'll get more real estate back for the particular edits. The edits all involve removing things like the fishing wire holding the kettle, like the string and fishing wire holding the crystal ball, and some errant splashes and such in some of the other pictures. So I'm off, you stay, we'll continue. So one important thing to consider when doing these is to always take a picture with everything clean. That becomes your boilerplate and can help you tidy up pictures immensely. Here we're going to use this one, and the image I'm going to edit is, I think we'll choose this one. So I need them both. So with that one selected, hold down my control key and click this one. So I've got two selected. D for a develop module, I just click up here. Auto sync should be on, if not switch it on. So anything I do to this picture will happen on the next picture. And what I want to do is just change that white balance a little bit to get it a little bit more blue. Now when we jumped into Photoshop, what do we want to do? Well, I want to get rid of the silhouette of my hand and the cup, and therefore tidy this little bit here. I want to get rid of the string and the hook, and I want to get rid of all these splashes which I didn't wipe down from the previous splash. All of which very easy to do. But first let's finish our edit. I'm now going to crop this to something like that, which I think is a reasonable crop for this picture. Add a bit of clarity. And G for a gallery view. Notice how this was cropped as well, because we had auto sync on and we were editing too. While we have them both highlighted, let's edit in Photoshop. So right click, edit in, and don't choose edit in Photoshop, choose open as layers in Photoshop. That way both images end up as layers in the same picture. Let's go to Photoshop, and here's them coming in now. Okay, it doesn't matter which order we do this in, but I prefer to have the main image I'm working on top, so I'll just drag it up. First things first, let's get rid of the cup. And we're not going to use any of the more fancy tools here, we're just going to use the more run-of-the-mills one. So I'm going to use, over here, I'm going to use my patch tool, and I will select something and patch it out. So like select, I'm going to deliberately make a mistake here by selecting far too much. Importantly, I'm selecting to patch through something where there's defined corners and high contrast changes. And notice what it does. You get this slurry, this sludge at the border. Control Z, Control D. I want to stop that happening. Now, granted, if I am doing that, you will probably not notice, but there is still a fringing coming out here. So we need to get rid of that contrast area. So let's zoom in and use our clone stamp tool, which is S for stamp, clone stamp. It's over here, clone stamp tool. With a relatively small brush, I'm going to hold down my Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC to sample. And with that sample, I'm now just going to paint up so this looks like it's running out like that. Sample again from above and just paint that in, coming out. Okay, zoom out a little bit. So now we've got that clear water with no high contrast, and that looks like it just tails off as it was naturally doing. I can get my patch tool and I can come in here, as long as I go through the straights that we've just opened. Control minus to zoom out, and I'm just going to drag that up to there, and this time it's a pristine removal. Control D. Let's do the same with the string. S for clone stamp tool. Sample out here, and let's just paint over the top. Patch tool can now come in and safely go through the gap and remove it. Control D. There you go. What about all these splashes? Shall we start patching them one by one, moving them out of the way? No. That's where this other image comes in to help us. This other image doesn't have any of that. So what we can do is put a mask on this image. Because they're the same, because they were from a tripod, if I just remove elements of this image and let our eye fall through to the image below does not have the dirty background. So click on there, B for a brush tool, nice soft round brush, and I paint here. What's actually happening is you're seeing this layer. Where this black matches, your eye drops through to the following layer, the layer beneath, which is clean. So by doing this, how quick and easy was that, just to tidy up all of that spillage. Okay, that's our first edit complete. Let's go back to Lightroom while it's thinking about saving that. And now let's have a look at these pictures. I will zoom out to let you see there is quite a number of them. I'll highlight the first one. And just to show how quick this is, I'm just going to highlight there. I've now got something like, what have I got? 22 pictures selected. I'm going to click one at random in the middle. So I've got 22 pictures. That's going to be my primary edit. If I press D, it doesn't matter which my primary edit is, by the way. I just picked a middle one because some action was happening. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to get rid of the fish and wire. We want to crop it. We want to possibly get rid of what's on the table there. That is up to you. Let's start with the crop. So crop, and I want to bring this in to the back edge of the table, certainly. Both sides. And I want to get rid of what's under the table. So let's take that up to about there. You could choose to take the whole lot out, but I'm going to leave a little bit more in. And then finish the crop. White balance. I'm going to lighten that as I did before a little bit. 5,000 possibly-ish. And I'm going to add some clarity. G for my gallery view. So that was the one I was primarily interested in editing. I could pick some from the others. In fact, there might even be better pictures than that, but that's by the by. It doesn't matter at all for what we are doing. So Control D to deselect. That's the one I want to edit. That one, nothing has come out. This is the very first pour. Nothing's come out, so this is a very clean image. Well, as is that one. So let's use that one. This one and that one. Right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Meanwhile, in Photoshop, our layers come in. Now the first thing I'm going to do with my stamp tool, clone stamp tool, is on this one here, on this top one, is I don't know what that bit of dirt is there. So I'm just going to sample to the side. And I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, job done. It doesn't matter what order we do this in, but I do prefer the main picture to be on the top. I'm on the top. If I switch one off and on, you can see it hardly moves. There was a tiny little bit movement. In this instance, we do need to align the layers, so you can do it manually. I could lower the opacity, and with the move tool, I could just move that around to line the layers up. As you can see, I can see through and I can do that. Or I can highlight both and choose edit, auto align layers, and see if Photoshop can do it for me. And it has. So now if I switch this off and on, that glass is not moving at all. Okay. Let's bring the opacity back up before we forget. So off and on. In reverse order to what we did last time. Let's put a mask on there. B for our brush tool, black as our foreground colour, and a bit smaller, and just tidy out the spillage that's in that glass. Alright, back onto this one. We actually could do the same with the clone with here, but you run into problems potentially where the flash is not quite exactly the same brightness because it was still recharging and we're in burst mode. So I will Control Z that out, and instead on this layer here I'm going to use the spot healing brush. So we haven't got anywhere near any AI type elements. Not that I'm against it, but just goes to show you don't actually always need it. And we're going to run down through the fishing wire, which has become saggy at the front because the weight is now in the back handle of the teapot. And there's a bit inside the teapot just here, and there's a bit in the lid just here, and smaller still there's a bit coming from the lid off to the hole in the top of the lid there. And why not get rid of this too? Okay, you can take as much time or as little time over this as you want. The point is you get to see what's involved, and then we'll just save that back and we've tidied up. You can do further cropping, you can do further editing, whatever. I will leave that to you. Our next picture was the strawberries and cream. There's the one I chose to edit. So let's click on that one, click on that one, D to develop, and there's the basic picture. I want to adjust the white balance a bit to get that milk looking a bit more milkier. Bring the exposure up a little bit. Put some clarity in there. Now let me see what the clarity looks like on the stem. Now you see there's a lot more in the stem, so I do want to bring that out in the stem, so I don't want to bring it out elsewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to our masking tool and choose a brush, which I will pre-laden with lots of clarity. And I will just now make sure I've got a bit of a feather on it, just painting on the stem and bring the clarity in there where I wanted it, and possibly amongst the milk and the immediate drops. Top of the strawberries. There we go, and back out. Anything else to do? I think I might revisit some of the highlights. I was going to push them up a little bit, but I think it is just a little bit that needs to go up there. But bring the white down a little bit to compensate. I think I'm quite happy with that as is. G for our gallery view. Do we need to do anything in Photoshop? No, I don't think so. Had we have gone on and done another splash and had things stuck around the bottom, some splash, we could have addressed that in exactly the same way as I've shown you with the teapot, and exactly the same way as I showed you with the bowl. Our final picture was a strawberry drop, and this was the image I chose to choose from. Let's have a quick look at them. Too early, too far down. That was a double one being dropped down, and the double one splashed, and this was the one I chose to edit. So let's D for our develop module. What have I done in here? Let's just reset it. Nothing. So firstly, let's crop it, and I want to just possibly go for more of a vertical portrait position, and there, I think, rough rule of thirds. I've got my waterline at a third, and I've got my main action in thirds. There's a little reflection down there, so let's choose that. Now what we can do to tidy this up is to bring the blacks down a little bit, bring highlights up a little bit, and certainly add some clarity into this picture. Do I need to go to Photoshop to tidy it up? I could, or I could just, these ones I could just stay in Lightroom and use the remove tool and just on there, few little bits and bobs. Let's see what that does. See if it's useful or not. If not, we'll just pop over into Photoshop. And what do you think? Has it worked? Yes, I think the only thing I would do with this picture really for now is add a vignette, and I'd make it quite heavy as well. And there you have it. Ways to tidy them up and some of the setups. I hope you found that useful. I know my particular little camera group will, because they'll be using some of this when it comes to edit their pictures. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content like this, where I'm actually showing you the actual pictures and the development, not just the editing side of things, let me know in the comments. Please click on that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified of future videos. Oh, and a like wouldn't go amiss too. Bye for now.